You ever have one of those days where the past just walks right through your front door? No warning, no knock, just strolls in like it owns the place. Well, that's what happened to me the day a homeless teenager walked into my little bookstore. She couldn't have been more than 16. Dirty clothes, worn out backpack hanging off one shoulder, hair pulled back like she was trying to look older than she felt. She asked me if I was hiring, and I should have said no. Lord knows, the last thing I needed that day was another responsibility. But when I looked at her face, I froze. Because that face, it wasn't just familiar, it was personal. She looked exactly like someone I knew, someone I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. And when she told me her mother's name, well, my heart just about stopped beating. Because I knew that name. I'd known it for 17 years. That's when I hired her on the spot. Gave her a place to sleep, too. Didn't tell her why. Didn't dare. Because if what I suspected was true, if this girl wasn't just some random kid who stumbled into my shop, then everything was about to change. For her, for me, and for the one person who'd cut me out of their life 2 years ago. The person whose face I saw every time I looked at that girl. My name is Linda, and this is my story. But before we go on, my dear listener, tell me, where are you watching from tonight? And don't forget to subscribe to The Old Woman Stories. We're building a little corner of the world for folks who know. Our best chapters don't end when the hair turns gray. They just start getting interesting. It was a Tuesday in November when everything changed. Cold, outside. That kind of cold that makes your hands ache. You know, the kind that sneaks into your bones, no matter how high you turn the heat. I remember sitting behind the counter, running numbers that didn't make much sense, no matter how many times I double-checked them. The store felt too big that day, too quiet. 40 years I'd owned that bookstore, and still, there were days it felt like a cathedral of ghosts. 4 customers all morning, maybe 5. I was just about to close early when the door opened. A girl walked in, thin as a rail, jacket too big, sleeves hiding her hands. Her backpack was frayed at the seams. Something about her caught my eye right away, not just the way she looked, but the way she stood there, like she was deciding whether she even belonged in a place like mine. She started browsing the shelves. First, the young adult section, then over to poetry. Her fingers brushed the spines, real gentle, like she respected the books, maybe even loved them. I pretended not to stare, but you know how that goes. I watched her from the corner of my eye, just curious. After about 20 minutes, she came back to the poetry table. She picked up a book she had left there earlier, pressed it to her chest, and walked up to the counter. Slight pause, sound of soft footsteps. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice was small, like she hadn't used it much lately. "Yeah," I looked up. "Are you hiring?" she asked. "I need work. I'm really good with books." I set my pen down. "How old are you?" I asked. 16, she said quick, like she'd practiced it. "I know I'm young, but I work hard." "I can prove it. What's your name?" "Jennifer," she said, after a beat. "Jennifer Carter." And that name, Carter, rolled around in my head like a marble in a tin can. Didn't ring any bells. Not yet. "Where are you staying, Jennifer?" "There's a shelter 2 blocks over," she said, eyes down. "I've been staying there." My heart cracked right there in my chest. "You're not from around here." She shook her head. "Upstate. I ran away from an orphanage about a year ago." I just stared at her. 16 years old. Already been through more than most grown folks could handle. "What about your parents?" I asked softly. She hesitated. "My mom died when I was 12. My dad died before I was born." That's what she told me. And something in the way she said it, like she'd repeated those words 100 times. It told me the story hurt once, but she'd buried the pain deep enough to sound calm now. "I'm sorry," I said. She nodded. "Thank you." Then I asked the question that changed everything. "What was your mother's name?" She looked up, met my eyes. "Amanda," she said. "Amanda Carter." Pause. A soft low note of music swells beneath the silence. Amanda. My breath caught. I hadn't heard that name in over 16 years. Amanda Carter used to come into this very bookstore every week one summer, back when she was dating my son, Chris. I remember them in the corner, near the poetry shelf. She'd read to him out loud, her voice soft, steady, full of promise. He'd sit there pretending not to care. But I saw the way he looked at her. That boy was in love. Then one day she stopped coming. I asked Chris about her. He just shrugged, said they broke up, said she went back home. And life went on. Until now. Until this girl, this Jennifer Carter, walked into my store looking like she'd stepped right out of a memory. The math started clicking together in my head. Amanda, 17 years ago. Jennifer, 16 years old. It couldn't be, could it? I tried to brush it off. Coincidences happen. Plenty of girls named Jennifer. Plenty of Carters in the world. But then I looked at her again. The curve of her jaw. The stubborn little tilt to her chin. Something in her eyes. Lord help me. She looked just like my Chris when he was 16. My stomach turned over. Before I could think twice, she spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said. "Do you really have a job? Or were you just being nice?" And in that moment, hearing that hope hiding under all that fear, I made my decision. "I have a job," I said. "You're hired, if you want it." Her eyes went wide, like she couldn't believe it. "Really? Can you start tomorrow at 9? She blinked, then nodded. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you love books," I said. "That's enough for now." She tried to smile, but tears started to shine in her eyes. "I won't let you down," she whispered. "I believe you," I told her. She turned to leave, hand on the door, then looked back. "Why are you doing this?" I looked at her, this stranger who might not be a stranger at all, and said, "Because you asked. And I have a job that needs doing." She nodded, opened the door, and disappeared into the cold November air. Pause. The sound of a bell above the bookstore door fading out. I stood there in the quiet store, the account book still open on the counter, and thought, if this girl is who I think she is, then everything I thought I'd buried 16 years ago is about to come back to life. That night, I sat in the back room of the bookstore, just me, a cup of tea gone cold, and too many memories. For the first time in years, I didn't feel entirely alone. The next morning, 8:45 sharp, she was back. Same backpack, different jacket, hair tied up neat, walked fast, like she was afraid I'd change my mind overnight. "Good morning," I said, unlocking the door. "Good morning," she said back, polite, but nervous. "I'm not too early, am I?" "Not at all." "Come on in." She followed me inside. The store looked different in the morning light. Soft beams spilling through the front windows. Dust motes dancing in the air like tiny fairies. "Have you had breakfast?" I asked. She hesitated. "I'm fine." Which of course meant no. "There's a coffee shop next door. Go get something to eat. Tell Marco I sent you. He'll put it on my tab. I don't need—" "You can't work on an empty stomach," I said. "Go on. I'll be here when you get back." She smiled, just barely, and went. And as the bell jingled behind her, I sat at the desk in the back office, clearing space on the old wooden table, because whatever story this girl was carrying with her, I had a feeling it wasn't done with me yet. When Jennifer came back from the coffee shop that morning, she had a paper cup in one hand and a muffin in the other, wrapped up neat like it was precious. "Thank you," she said, setting it down on the counter. I'll pay you back when I get paid. I waved her off. Don't worry about it. Some debts don't belong in dollars. That morning, I showed her the ropes. How to work the register, how to shelve the books, how to tell a first edition from a reprint. Fiction by author, non-fiction by subject, poetry in the back corner where the light was best. Paul always said the poets deserved the sunlight. Jennifer learned fast, wrote everything down in a little notebook she pulled from her backpack. Asked good questions, too. Thoughtful ones, the kind that tell you a person's really paying attention. Do you get a lot of customers? She asked. Not like we used to, I said. People buy books online now. That's sad, she said quietly. I shrugged. It is what it is. She ran her hand along a shelf of hardcovers. These are beautiful, though, she said. You can't get this from a screen. That right there, that one line, was when I started liking her. By lunchtime, I trusted her enough to handle the register while I did inventory in the back. And when I peeked through the doorway, there she was, polite with the customers, gentle even. She helped a woman pick out a book for her daughter and smiled the whole time. That smile, it had a light in it, not big, but honest. Later that afternoon, I found her sitting on the floor in the poetry section, same corner where she'd stood that first day. Her notebook was open. She was writing something, then crossing it out, over and over. What are you working on? I asked. She startled, closed the notebook quick. Nothing, just stories, I guess. You write? Sort of. It's stupid. It's not stupid. She shrugged. Books were kind of my friends when I was younger. When things got bad at home, I sat down on the step stool beside her. What happened at home, Jennifer? She picked at the corner of her notebook for a long time before she spoke. My mom had problems, she said quietly. Drugs, mostly. It started after I was born. I don't remember a time before it. I'm sorry, I said. She nodded, still looking down. I took care of her when I was old enough. 10, maybe. I'd find her passed out on the couch, sometimes in the bathroom. Got good at hiding things from the neighbors, making excuses. She said it flat, like she was reading grocery items off a list. My throat tightened. That's a lot for a kid to handle. I didn't have a choice, she said simply. Then she looked up at me, those eyes, steady and sad. I found her when she died. I was 12, came home from school, and she was in the bathroom. I called 911, but she was already gone. I had to take a breath before I spoke. Jennifer, it's okay. She shook her head lightly. It was 4 years ago. Then she closed her notebook and stared at the shelf. After that, it was foster care. Then the orphanage. That place was awful, cold, like no one cared. We were just numbers. So you left? Yeah, she said. Last year, I turned 15 and just walked out. Been on my own since. She said it like it was nothing. Like surviving alone at 15 was just another Tuesday. I understood that kind of emptiness. Because 2 years earlier, I'd lost Paul. He died on a Thursday morning. Heart attack. No warning. No goodbye. I woke up, and he was already gone in the bed beside me. We'd been married 40 years, built this bookstore together from nothing. Every shelf, every floorboard, every old squeak in the wood had our fingerprints in it. The funeral was small. Paul didn't have much family left. Chris came, my son, but he stayed in the back. Spent half the service on his phone. Left right after, without saying much. I spent 3 months in a fog, showing up to the store because I didn't know where else to go. The apartment upstairs felt like a cavern. Too big, too quiet. Grief has a sound, you know. It hums under the silence like a low, sad song you can't shut off. Then one afternoon, Chris showed up, bright-eyed, full of ambition. He had a business plan. Subscription boxes, curated products for young professionals, the kind of thing you see in glossy magazines. He needed $350,000 to get started. Money I didn't have, not without selling the bookstore. Think about it, Mom, he said. This place barely breaks even. You're working yourself to death for what? Dad's gone. You don't need to keep doing this. I just stared at him. This store, I said, is all I have left of your father. It's a building, he said. It's inventory. Dad wouldn't want you struggling. I'm not selling. His face changed then, hardened, like a door closing. You're choosing this over helping your own son. I'm not choosing anything, I said. I'm keeping what your father and I built. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. Dusty books over your son's future. Got it. Then he grabbed his coat. Don't expect me to be around to watch you struggle, he said. I'm done. And he walked out, didn't call, didn't visit. 2 years of silence. I lost Paul. Then I lost Chris by his own choice. And that left me in the same place Jennifer was, alone, trying to hold together what was left. That night, after Jennifer fell asleep on the old couch in the back office, the one with the sagging cushions and the blanket that smelled faintly of mothballs, I sat upstairs at my computer. And I did something I never thought I'd do. I ordered 2 DNA kits, one for her, one for me. I told myself it was curiosity. But the truth was, I needed to know. 3 days later, the kits arrived. Jennifer was restocking the young adult section when I called out, "Hey, I got something kinda random." She turned, curious. "What's that?" I held up the boxes, Ancestry DNA kits. I read this book about genetics. Got me curious about my family tree. Ordered 2 by accident. Want to try it with me? She looked surprised. Really? Could be fun, I said. See where our families came from. She hesitated. I don't know much about my family. Just my mom. That's okay, I told her. Might show you something interesting. She smiled faintly. Sure, why not? We opened the kits right there at the counter, reading the instructions together. Swab your cheek, seal the tube, mail it back. Jennifer did hers first, careful and exact. That's it? She asked. That's it, I said. Then I did mine. We packaged them up, walked to the post office together, and dropped them in the mail slot. How long does it take? She asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4. She groaned. That's a long time. Good things take time, I said with a smile. That was the first real smile I'd seen from her, the kind that reaches the eyes. We walked back to the bookstore in the November cold, the sun already setting, the street lights flickering on one by one. 3 weeks until I'd know for sure. 3 weeks until the truth came back in a little white envelope. The next morning, Jennifer showed up early, 8:30, holding 2 cups of coffee from Marco's, set one in front of me on the counter. Thought I'd return the favor, she said. It became our routine. Morning coffee, her at the register, me unpacking boxes in the back. Lunch in the office. Little by little, she started talking more, and I started listening, really listening. The first week passed slow, the kind of slow that lets your heart get used to being full again. I watched her closely, not for suspicion, but for signs, a gesture, a word, anything that might connect her to Chris. On Thursday, I found her sitting in the poetry section again during her break. Same spot, same soft light through the window. Find something good? I asked. She looked up. Mary Oliver. My mom used to read poetry, she said, when I was little. Before things got bad, I sat down on the step stool beside her. What was she like before? Jennifer's eyes softened. She was good. Really good. She'd make up voices when she read. She loved books almost as much as I do. Almost? I teased. She smiled. I might love them more. What happened to her? I asked. I mean, what changed? Jennifer closed the book, ran her fingers along the spine. I think she was sad, she said quietly. My whole life, probably. Her parents kicked her out when she got pregnant. She was 20. She tried to make it work, but I don't think she ever stopped being heartbroken. 20. Same age Amanda was when Chris dated her. The drugs started when you were young? I asked gently. Yeah. I remember being 5, maybe 6, finding needles in the bathroom. Didn't know what they were. By the time I was 10, I was taking care of her. That's too much for a kid. I didn't have a choice, she said again, and opened the book, staring at the words without reading. Then she said softly, but there were good days, when she was clean. Sometimes a week, sometimes 2. She'd take me to the library. And right then, watching her talk about those memories, I realized I wasn't just hearing her story. I was hearing echoes of my own. We were both women living with ghosts, both holding on to something broken, hoping it could still mean something. And though she didn't know it yet, our stories were already tangled together in ways that would change everything. He looked around, like a man appraising something he might want to buy or sell, or both. Still smells like dust and old paper, he said. You really should do something about that. Some things never change. I wiped my hands on a cloth and stepped out from behind the counter. Hello, Chris. He gave me a quick nod, already checking his phone. So what's this about? You said it was important. My heart was thudding so hard, it almost drowned out my voice. Do you remember Amanda Carter? He froze, just a flicker in his eyes, a tiny stutter in his breath. Why are you bringing that up? He asked. You dated her, I said softly. 17 years ago. She used to come here sometimes. Blonde hair, quiet girl, always reading in the back corner. He set his phone down. Yeah, I remember her. She disappeared. What about her? I took a deep breath. She had a daughter. He blinked. Okay? And? I held his gaze. Her name's Jennifer. He frowned, confused. Why are you telling me this? I slid the paper across the counter. The printed DNA results. Because she's yours. For a moment, the only sound in the store was the hum of the old refrigerator in the back. Chris stared down at the page, then up at me. This is a joke, he said. It's not, I whispered. She's been working here for 3 weeks. She didn't know either. We did the DNA test, and this came back. He laughed. Short, sharp, uncomfortable. Mom, do you realize how insane that sounds? You just take in some random kid, and now you think she's my daughter? She's not some random kid. He pushed the paper back toward me. Even if this was true, which it's not, I don't need this right now. I've got investors to meet, deadlines, a life. I can't. Chris, I said, and my voice cracked. She's your child. He looked away, jaw tight. Amanda told me she got an abortion. That's what she said before she left. She didn't. He rubbed his temples, pacing. 17 years, Mom. 17 years. And you're telling me this now? I didn't know either. Not until last week. He stopped, staring at the floor. What do you want me to do? I hesitated. I want you to meet her. He shook his head. No, no way. I can't just, no. I have a company to run, people depending on me. It's too much. He turned toward the door. She's in the back, I said quietly. He stopped cold. Jennifer's here, I nodded. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there with his hand on the doorknob, like if he didn't move, time might rewind. Chris, I said softly, please. He sighed, muttered something under his breath, and turned around. Fine. 5 minutes. I walked to the back office door, knocked gently. Jennifer. She opened it a crack, eyes wide. Is he here? Yes, do you want to meet him? Her hands were trembling. I think so. She stepped out, brushed her hair from her face, and followed me. When we reached the front of the store, Chris was standing by the counter, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. For a second, nobody said anything. The air felt heavy. Then Jennifer spoke. "Hi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Chris turned. His face changed. Confusion first, then disbelief. He looked at her like he was seeing a ghost. "You," he started, then stopped. "I'm Jennifer," she said. "Jennifer Carter." He stared. "Carter," he repeated, like the word hurt. She nodded. "My mom's name was Amanda." Chris's mouth tightened. "Was?" "She died. When I was 12, something flickered in his face. Guilt, grief, something too quick to name." Jennifer went on, her words tumbling out nervously. "I didn't know anything about you. She never said your name. I thought you were dead." Chris sat down slowly on one of the old wooden stools by the counter. "She said I was dead." Jennifer nodded. "I guess she didn't want me to go looking." He laughed again, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Guess that worked." Jennifer swallowed. "I didn't come here looking for anything. I just needed a job. Your mom's been really kind to me." He glanced at me, then back at her. "You knew about this?" She shook her head. "No, not until she showed me the test." He looked down at the floor again. "God." The silence stretched. The ticking clock on the wall sounded like thunder. Finally, I spoke. "Chris, she's a good girl. Smart. Brave. She's been through more than most adults ever will. She deserves at least 5 honest minutes from you." He didn't look up. 5 minutes won't change 17 years. "No," I said. "But it's a start." Jennifer took a step closer. "I don't want anything from you," she said softly. "I just wanted to know who you were." Chris finally looked at her. "And now you do." His voice was gentle, but final. Jennifer's eyes shimmered. She nodded once. "Yeah, I guess I do." She turned, walked back toward the office. The little bell over the back door jingled faintly as it swung closed behind her. I turned to Chris. "That's it?" I asked. "That's all you have to say?" He looked at me, eyes hard. "What do you expect, Mom? That I suddenly become Father of the Year? That I throw away everything I've built because some DNA website says so?" I shook my head slowly. "No, I just expected you to care." He grabbed his jacket, his phone, his pride, and left without another word. The bell above the door rang one last time. Then silence, the kind that settles deep. Sometimes, dear listener, life gives you a truth you weren't ready for, and a silence that tells you what kind of person someone really is. But stories don't end just because someone walks out. Some stories just turn a corner. He didn't even step past the doormat. Chris stood there, in the store his father built, the one he'd once run through as a boy. And you could tell he didn't recognize it anymore. Not the creak in the floor, not the smell of paper and dust. "Mom," a nod, not a hug. "Chris, thanks for coming. You said it was important." "It is." He stayed by the door, like he was afraid to catch something by being too close. "So," he said, "what's this about Amanda Carter?" I locked the front door, flipped the sign to closed. "We should sit." "I'd rather stand." "Fine, we do it his way." "Amanda had a daughter," I said, 16 years old. "Her name is Jennifer." He blinked, nothing moving behind his eyes. "Okay?" "And she's your daughter." That changed him. His mouth opened, closed. "That's not possible." "It is," I said quietly. "It's true. Amanda and I broke up. She left. She left because she was pregnant. With your baby." He shook his head. "No, she would have told me, would she?" I asked. "Or would she have been too scared? Too hurt?" His jaw tightened. This is insane. I reached under the counter, unfolded the paper that had felt heavy for days, and set it in front of him. These are DNA results. Jennifer took one. I took one. She's my granddaughter, which makes her your daughter. He stared at the printout, his eyes dragging over the lines, the numbers, the word match. Where'd you get this? Does it matter? You tested some random kid without telling me. She's not random, I said, voice steady now. She's Amanda's daughter. Your daughter. He pushed the paper away like it burned. I don't believe this. The science doesn't lie. Then it's wrong. Labs make mistakes. Chris, no. He stepped back. Why are you even telling me this? The cold in his voice. It hit like a draft through an open door. Because she deserves to know her father, I said. Amanda died 4 years ago. Overdose. Jennifer was 12. She's been in foster care, an orphanage. She ran away last year. She's been on her own ever since. Nothing. Not a flicker of emotion. She's 16, Chris, I said. And she's been through hell. The least you can do is meet her. He exhaled like I just asked for money. I don't want to be a father. The words sat there, cold, solid. What? I never wanted kids. I made that clear back then. You told Amanda that. Yeah. When she started talking about the future, I told her I wasn't interested. That's probably why she left. He said it like it was logical, like abandoning a pregnant woman was a business decision. So you knew. His silence was answer enough. You knew she was pregnant. Yeah, he said finally. She told me. I told her I didn't want anything to do with it. I was clear. That's why she left, before I had to deal with it. Deal with it? My hands shook. She's not a problem, Chris. She's a person. Your daughter. I have my own life, he said. I'm not doing this. You won't even meet her. No. She's right here, I said. In this store. Working for me. His eyes flicked toward the back office. Just a quick glance, like she was a nuisance behind a door. Then back to me. I don't care. How can you say that? Because it's the truth. He grabbed his keys. Find someone else to guilt trip, Mom. I'm not interested in playing happy family. This isn't a game, I said. This is a girl who deserves… What? A father who doesn't want her. He laughed, humorless. That'll help. You're unbelievable. No, he said quietly. I'm honest. Amanda made her choice. She had the kid. That's on her, not me. He turned, unlocked the door, and left without another word. The bell jingled once, then silence. That was my son. I stood there in the stillness, the paper on the counter, proof that truth doesn't always fix what's broken. And then, the sound of footsteps. Jennifer. Her face was pale, her eyes wet. She'd heard every word. He doesn't want me, she said. Not a question. Jennifer, it's okay. She wiped her eyes fast. The way kids do when they've learned crying doesn't help. I figured. It's not okay. It's fine. Her voice cracked. I'm used to it. I came around the counter and pulled her close. She cried quietly. The kind of crying that's more breath than sound. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. You tried, she said against my shoulder. That's more than most people would do. He's wrong, I told her. This isn't about you. It's about him, being selfish and small. She nodded, but her shoulders shook. My mom was right, she said. She told me he was dead. She was protecting me. She loved you. I know. We stood there until the light outside turned gold, then purple, then gone. Finally, Jennifer pulled back. So what now? Now, I said. You stay here. With me. This is your home. You don't have to. I want to. She looked up at me. A little girl and a grown woman all at once. You're my granddaughter, Jennifer. My family. Chris doesn't get to decide that. What if he changes his mind? Then we'll deal with it, I said. But I'm not holding my breath. She smiled, a small, tired thing. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think something's wrong with me? Like, why doesn't he want me? My heart cracked clean through. There's nothing wrong with you, I said. Not one single thing. He's broken. Not you. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She hugged me again, tighter this time. Thank you, she whispered. For trying, for caring. You don't have to thank me. I do, though. We stayed like that until the streetlights came on and the world outside went still. Later that night, Jennifer went upstairs to rest. I cleaned the counter, folded the DNA paper, and put it away in the drawer. Chris didn't want his daughter. Fine, I did. And that was going to be enough. The next morning, we moved her things upstairs. All she had was a backpack, her mother's poetry book, 3 changes of clothes, and a toothbrush still in its package. That's it? I asked. She shrugged. Easier to run when you don't have much. You're not running anymore, I said. She looked at me for a long time, then nodded. Okay. I showed her the spare bedroom. Paul's old office, fresh sheets, new curtains, a little lamp that made the walls glow warm. This is mine? All yours. She set her backpack on the bed, ran her hand across the quilt. I haven't had my own room since I was 12. Well, I said softly, you have one now. That night, I found her in the kitchen at 3 in the morning, barefoot, standing in the glow of the fridge light. Can't sleep? Not used to it being quiet. Or warm, she said, pouring water into a glass. At the shelter, there's always noise. People yelling, doors slamming. You'll get used to it. Yeah. She smiled a little. Thanks. For everything. Your family, I said. This is where you belong. She nodded, that small smile again, and went back upstairs. The months blurred into something like peace. Jennifer enrolled in night classes to finish high school, worked the bookstore by day, studied behind the register between customers. You're allowed to take breaks, I told her once. I like being busy, she said, and I believed her. The first book club meeting brought 8 people. By the 3rd month, we had 20 regulars. Jennifer led them like she'd been doing it her whole life, asking questions that made people think, laugh, cry. The bookstore, somehow, began to feel alive again. When I handed her her first paycheck, she stared at it like it was made of gold. You don't have to, she said. Yes, I do. You work. You get paid, she smiled. The kind of smile that sticks with you. Spring turned to summer, summer to fall. Jennifer turned 18 in November. I made her a chocolate cake with vanilla frosting. She cried when she saw it. No one's made me a cake since I was 11, she said. We ate it at the kitchen table upstairs. Just the 2 of us. 2 weeks later, she walked across a stage and got her high school diploma. I sat in the audience with all the other families, tears in my eyes. When she found me afterward, she hugged me tight. I didn't think I'd ever finish, she said. I knew you would. That winter, I found her notebook left on the counter. Couldn't help myself. I opened it. Pages and pages of stories. Raw, honest, beautiful. You read it, she said from behind me. I turned. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. It's okay. She took it back. They're not very good. They're excellent, I said. You have real talent. She bit her lip. You think I could write a book? Yes. Really, really. And that's how it began. The next chapter, neither of us saw coming. Sometimes, dear listener, the family we need isn't the one we're born into. It's the one that opens the door when everyone else walks away. Every night after we closed the shop, she wrote, weekends, early mornings before opening, always that sound. Keys clicking, pen scratching, coffee cooling beside her. At 19, Jennifer finished her first manuscript, 300 pages, a novel about a girl who takes care of her mother, finds her dead, survives foster care, and somehow finds hope again in books. She handed it to me one Tuesday afternoon. "I don't know if it's any good," she said, "but I finished it. I read it that night, all of it, couldn't stop. When I reached the last page, I sat there for a long time. Tears I didn't know were coming, just there. I knocked on her door. She opened it, saw my face. "It's bad, isn't it?" "It's beautiful," I said, voice breaking. "Jennifer, this is really beautiful." She started crying. "You mean it?" "Every word." That was the beginning. We spent the next year learning together how to query agents, how to write a synopsis, what rejection letters looked like. After the 20th, "Thank you, but not for us," Jennifer sat at the counter, eyes tired. "Maybe it's not good enough." "It's good enough," I told her. "You just haven't found the right person yet." And she kept trying. The bookstore grew alongside her. She made us a website, started posting about new releases, book recommendations, photos of the store cat sleeping on the poetry shelf. People started coming in because they'd seen us online. "You're good at this," I told her. "It's easy," she said, smiling, "when you love what you're doing." At 21, the call came. She ran from the back office, phone shaking in her hand. "She wants to represent me." I blinked. "An agent?" "She thinks she can sell it." "Of course she can." 3 months later, she did. A small publisher, a modest advance, but real. Jennifer held that contract like it was fragile. "I'm going to be a published author." "Yes," I said. "You are." 2 years later, the book came out. We hosted the launch right here at Williams Books. The place was packed. Jennifer stood behind the little wooden podium Paul built decades ago, reading from chapter 1, her voice steady, her hand sure. And I stood in the back, watching the girl who once slept in the shelter's hallway, now standing in a room full of people, reading her own words. After everyone left, we sat together in the quiet store. "Thank you," she said, "for believing in me. I'll always believe in you." The book did well, not a bestseller, but it mattered. Good reviews, a regional award, a newspaper article, local author publishes first novel. Jennifer smiled for the photo, but didn't make a fuss. At 25, her second book came. It sold better, even hit a few smaller bestseller lists. By 26, the third book sparked a bidding war. 6 publishers, $200,000. Jennifer sat at the kitchen table, head in her hands. "I don't know what to do with this much money." "Save some, invest some, buy yourself something nice. I want to give some to the bookstore." "No." "Why not?" "Because you earned that. Your words, your work." She shook her head. "You gave me everything. Let me give something back." We compromised. She helped with the things I'd put off for years. New shelves, new heating, repairs that made the store feel young again. The bookstore thrived. Jennifer thrived. We built our rhythms: morning coffee before opening, book talk during slow afternoons, dinner together most nights. 10 years passed, like water under a bridge. Jennifer grew into a confident, kind, extraordinary young woman. But sometimes, when the world got quiet, I'd see her by the window, staring out at nothing, that faraway look in her eyes. "What are you thinking about?" I asked once. "Nothing." "Jennifer." She sighed. "Do you think he ever thinks about me?" "Chris." "Always him. The ghost in the background." "I don't know. I just wonder what it'd be like. Having a father, you don't need him." "I know," she said softly. "But sometimes She stopped herself. "You're allowed to want that. I told her. It's stupid. It's human. She never brought it up again. But I knew the ache stayed, like an old scar under the skin. I hoped time would heal it. I was wrong. A few quiet months passed. Jennifer kept writing. The store kept humming. I'd stopped even saying his name. Then one morning, she came down to breakfast, her phone in hand, smile wide. "Look at this," she said. "Remember that interview I did for that online magazine? It came out today." She showed me the article. From homeless teen to best-selling author, Jennifer Carter's inspiring journey. Her photo filled the top of the page. Standing in our bookstore, shelves behind her, smiling that real, unguarded smile. It told everything. Amanda's overdose, foster care, the streets, finding me, finding a home, the $200,000 advance. Even my name. Raised by her grandmother, Linda Williams. "This is good," I said, but my stomach tightened. "They want to do a podcast interview next month," she said. "Isn't that crazy?" "That's wonderful." She scrolled through comments, people congratulating her, calling her brave, inspiring. I smiled, but my hands felt cold. Something about it felt like a door had been left open. And I was right. 2 days later, it happened. Jennifer was restocking the poetry section when her phone buzzed. She checked it, froze. "What is it?" I asked. No answer. "Jennifer," she swallowed. "He messaged me." My blood went cold. "Who?" She looked up, voice barely a whisper. "My father." She showed me the phone. "Hi, Jennifer. I'm Chris Williams. I'm your father. Your grandmother told me about you years ago, but I wasn't ready then. I was wrong. I've regretted it every day since. I'd like to meet you if you're willing. I'm so sorry." I stared at the words, each one heavy and familiar. The way lies always sound like truth when you want to believe them. "Don't answer that," I said. "What?" "Don't answer it. Block him." "Why?" "Because he wants something." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Her face hardened. "Maybe he's changed." "People like Chris don't change." "You don't know him anymore. It's been 10 years. I know him better than anyone." She slipped her phone into her pocket. "People deserve second chances." "Not him." "Why?" "Because he hurt you, or because he didn't want me." "Both." "Well, maybe I want to give him a chance anyway." We stared at each other, the first real fight we'd ever had. "If you do this," I said, "he's going to hurt you. Or maybe he's genuinely sorry. Maybe he wants to be in my life. He abandoned you before you were born. And maybe he regrets it." He said he regrets it. Words are easy, Jennifer. So I shouldn't believe anyone who apologizes. "You shouldn't believe him." She turned away. "I'm going to answer him." "Don't. It's my choice." And then she walked to the back office and closed the door. I stood there in the poetry section, surrounded by books about love and loss and forgiveness. And I knew this was going to end badly. 3 days later, she came home glowing. "He was so nice," she said. "He apologized for everything. Said he was young and scared. Said he's thought about me for years." "What else did he say?" "He asked about my writing, my books. He said he was proud. Of course he did." "Are you going to see him again?" "He asked if we could meet next week. Is that okay?" "You don't need my permission," I said softly. "I know. I just don't want you to be upset." "I'm not upset. I was terrified." "Just be careful." "I will be." The meetings became regular, once a week, then twice. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner into weekends. She texted me updates, little heart emojis, laughing faces, hope wrapped in pixels. "He's so funny." He told me about his startup ideas. He asked to read my manuscript, and I watched quietly, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then one day she said it. "Dad stopped by today." "Dad." The word stung worse than I thought it would. What did he want? She smiled. Just to say hi. Sometimes, dear listener, the past doesn't knock before it walks back in. And when it does, it never comes empty-handed. She started mentoring them, the way I once mentored her. Sometimes I'd watch from the register as she sat with some shy kid, notebook in hand, voice soft and patient. It doesn't have to be perfect, she'd say. It just has to be yours. And I'd smile, because those were my words once. Now they were hers, passed down, reshaped, alive again. One afternoon, about a year later, we hosted a local author event. Small crowd, maybe 20 people. Jennifer read from her memoir in progress. The chapter about finding the bookstore, finding me. Her voice trembled a little at first, but then it steadied, strong and sure. When she finished, there was silence. The kind that hangs in the air when everyone's heart is too full to clap right away. Then the applause came, long, loud, and real. Afterwards, when the store was quiet again, Jennifer turned to me. You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't hired me that day? Every day, I said. And every day I'm grateful I did. She smiled, soft and small. You changed my life. No, I told her. You changed mine. We didn't say much after that. We didn't need to. The evening sun poured through the windows, painting everything gold. The books, the dust in the air, her hair, that small smile. I looked around the store, the shelves we'd built, the stories we'd shared, the quiet miracles that happened between those walls. And I thought, this is what family looks like. Not blood, not names, just love that stays. And as the light faded, I whispered, half to her, half to the ghosts of the past. We did all right, didn't we? Jennifer looked up from the counter, eyes warm and bright. We did better than all right. If you're still here, dear listener, maybe it's time you hit that subscribe button. After all, stories like these, stories about found family, second chances, and quiet love, they need good company. Until next time, this is the Old Woman Stories, reminding you that sometimes the best endings are just beginnings in disguise. She mentored them, the lost, the lonely, the dreamers who wandered into that little bookstore, looking for something they couldn't name. She sat with them in the poetry section, read their words, told them they had talent, that they mattered. You're good at this, I told her once. She smiled. I remember what it felt like when no one believed in me. By then, I was 76. My hair had gone completely gray. My hands ached in the mornings, but I still opened the store every day, brewed the coffee, flipped the open sign on the door. Jennifer had her own apartment now, just a few blocks away, decorated with books and framed covers of her novels. But every morning, without fail, she came in. We'd drink our coffee, talk about the new releases, argue playfully about endings and cover art, laugh about customers who mispronounced Kafka. We still had our rhythm, that quiet, beautiful rhythm we'd built together over 12 years. Her fourth book came out that fall. I remember opening it behind the counter, turning to the dedication page, to Linda, who gave me home, family, and stories. I cried right there in front of everyone. Didn't even try to hide it. By December, we were planning the Christmas event, her new novels, reading and signing. We decorated the store with garlands and twinkling lights. The window glowed warm against the winter night. It looked like something out of an old movie, the kind that makes your heart ache in the best way. That night, the bookstore was packed. Old customers, new faces, the kids she'd mentored. They all came. Jennifer stood in front of them, confident and radiant, reading from chapter 3. Her voice was strong, steady, and I stood in the back, watching her, remembering the day she'd first walked in, barefoot in spirit, but burning with quiet hope. After everyone left, we cleaned up, stacked chairs, swept the floors, put the garland back in place. I made tea in the back office, brought out 2 cups. We sat in the reading chairs by the window, the street outside empty, except for the street lights, the store warm and alive around us. I never thanked you properly, Jennifer said. For what? For that day when I walked in. You didn't have to hire me. You didn't have to care. I saw you, I said. That's all. She smiled. Most people don't see homeless kids. They look away. Well, I said softly. I'm glad I didn't. Me too. She sipped her tea. You know, this store was dying when I got here. You didn't just give me a job. You gave me a life. I smiled. You saved me too. We sat there in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from years of loving someone without needing to say a word. Then she laughed, something she read on her phone, and that sound filled the store, bounced off the shelves, and wrapped itself around my heart. I looked at her, this woman who'd once been a scared 16-year-old girl, and I thought about all the tiny moments that made us who we were. Coffee in the mornings, books shared in the afternoons, dinners that stretched into the quiet hours of night. It wasn't grand gestures that saved us. It was love, the small, everyday kind. Chris never understood that. He'd spent his life chasing something shiny, something that could be measured. He missed what was right in front of him, his loss. Jennifer set her cup down. I should head home. Early morning tomorrow. All right? She hugged me at the door. Love you. Love you too. I watched her walk into the December cold. Coat pulled tight, snow just beginning to fall. Watched until she turned the corner. Safe, as always. Then I locked the door, left the window lights on, and climbed the stairs to my apartment above the store. The rooms were quiet, but never lonely. Not anymore. I poured myself another cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, looking at the framed photo Jennifer gave me last Christmas. The two of us smiling behind the counter, my granddaughter, my family. Tomorrow she'd be back. We'd have our coffee. We'd open the bookstore. And life, our ordinary, extraordinary life, would go on. So that's my story. Tell me, dear listener, do you think Jennifer should have given Chris a second chance? Or was I right to protect her from the start? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've stayed with me all this way, maybe it's time you subscribed. Because around here, we believe stories are meant to be shared, and no one should ever feel alone while listening. Until next time, this is The Old Woman Stories, reminding you sometimes the family we find is the one that saves us in the end.